G'day, I'm Nev Sweeney and this is Under the Choco Tree. As mentioned in previous videos, in times like this it can be really good to grow your own food, but you might not have a whole stack of cash to throw at the project, and so starting off cheaply can be a good way to do it. One way of starting off cheaply is, rather than buying a whole stack of pots, is to use polystyrene fruit and veg boxes that you can get sometimes for free or at minimal cost from fruit and veg shops around the place. One type is this guy, and they already have holes in them, but there are other types which don't have holes, and a little bit later I'll show you the best way to put drainage holes into them. Anybody can start out this way. You can make one, you can make a stack. Even if you're having a whole stack of fun growing stuff in the ground, you can make them up for neighbours, friends or relatives as a gift. So well worth understanding how to make your own do-it-yourself veggie box. If you weren't lucky enough to get hold of one of the boxes that already has holes, then the first trick is going to be to put some holes in the bottom. There's a number of ways of doing that. One way is to just grab hold of a screwdriver and build some holes into the bottom of it. But then you wind up with these little polystyrene balls that get kind of everywhere. So what I generally tend to do is use something hot to burn the holes in the bottom, which seals the polystyrene so that doesn't happen. One of the best ways I've found of doing it is with a soldering iron. Because I have a soldering iron. If you don't have a soldering iron, you could heat something up, or you could borrow somebody else's soldering iron, I guess. But it's just a case of putting the soldering iron against the bottom of the box, and it burns the holes through very efficiently. Obviously, one of the things that happens when you're working through this is it gives off some pretty nasty fumes. So really what you want to be doing is doing this outside. And I know I'm not doing it outside, I'm doing it in the greenhouse. But the front door is open and the vent is open, and it's a really windy day, and so we're getting plenty of fresh air in here. So you can do, the pattern really doesn't matter, you just put in a dozen holes all the way through, because all you want is to make sure that the water that you're putting in has a drain, and you don't wind up with your veggies getting wet feet or things starting to rot and getting very unpleasant like that. If you have these without the holes in it, you can make them into a wicking basket, but that's a story for another time. Okay, so we've got the container full of holes. The next obvious thing would be to fill up full of growing medium and then plant into it, but I would like to suggest to you something just a little bit different. If you fill it maybe halfway with another organic material, I quite often use lawn clippings because they're freely available, and our lawn is not just grass, it has all sorts of stuff growing in it. So what we've got is a fairly good mixture of various leaves that the mower has harvested. Plus this time of year we've also got some dead leaves from some of the other trees that we're growing, all mixed up. And what I'm suggesting is to put some of that in there. That does two things, because I'm guessing first off that the growing medium you're going to be using, you're probably going to buy in. So what it does is it reduces the amount of growing medium you have to buy, hence your costs, because you can produce the organic material yourself. The other thing that it's going to do is it will break down over time and provide nutrients to the veggies that you're growing in there. So you'll need to worry less about making sure that they are properly fertilised, because what you've got effectively is a slow release fertiliser already in there. I will say one thing though, depending upon how you grow your grass, because if you use a lot of fertiliser, if you use a lot of weed killer on your grass and then you harvest it to put into something like this, then you really can't call what you're growing organic. Likewise, if you're using grass from somebody else's place, it would be really handy to know what they do with it. Is there any are there any chemicals involved? Just a thought. So here's our empty container. Grab some of our lawn clippings, spread it out nicely. So we're about half a container full of good organic matter. Then it's just a simple case of getting your bought-in growing medium, which is heavier than I thought it was. So again, depending upon the size of your container, you know, you can dump in half, 3/4 of a bag. It's probably not quite as much as I'd like. I'll put it away. And then on top, some mulch to make sure you get the best use out of the water that you're going to be using to keep these damp. It doesn't need to be a hugely thick layer, just nice thin layer of mulch. And then basically it's ready to start planting out. So I've got some silver beet here, pre-prepared. That goes in, surround it with mulch. Obviously I'd be putting a whole stack of other stuff in there as well, but that's what I've got prepared at the moment. If you want a bit more detail on how to do this and a discussion on the sorts of veggies you can grow, I'll put a link down in the description to an article that I've got on my website which will provide you a bit more information. So there it is, a fairly quick, easy and, dare I say it, inexpensive method of growing veggies at home. I hope you give it a go. I found it to be very worthwhile. As I mentioned earlier, if you're already a grower, you can make these sorts of things as gifts for family, friends and neighbours. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a comment down below or a like. And remember that subscribing is always good. See you in the next video.